Okay, this video is to assist someone in setting up Autoflats for the RRT telescope, and we have three files we want to find and locate and talk about what they do. They work together to produce the Autoflats. All right, so the first place to start is here on program files. I'm in the browser, and yeah, it's program files x86, and we go to ACP control and scripts and AutoFlat.vbs. That's Visual Basic script is the script that will run and execute. It is a program that will execute and create the flats running under ACP. And you will start that here in a minute, and we'll show you that later. In fact, well, let's do that first. So if you start it up, you'll see Autoflats. You hit open, and after you have your telescope on, the camera on, the rotator on, you can then hit run, and the program will kick off. And okay, now what we're going to do is go to users, public, because it is a public, and we want documents and ACP config. And so what this does, this is the program right here. We'll edit that one. And this, it's not a program. It's a text file that has a lot of information that the previous program, the Visual Basic program, will read and use, like thresholds and values to execute what you want it to do. For instance, right here is target background ADU. So it's set at 30,000. The mid-range would be 32,000 exactly. It's half it's a 16-bit image, so you would have 32 bits as half of the amplitude. And so you're just setting the background so that when you make your flats, that they come out about half of the, or in the middle of the range of exposure possible. This is a tolerance. It has to be 32,000 plus or minus 4 to operate on. The minimum exposure 16 seconds, maximum 96. If it falls outside of that, if it's running and it tries to say, oh, I need more, or I need less than 16 or more than 96, the program will actually crash. So what happens is you just can't run it. It'll start, and then it'll say, oh, that's out of range, I quit. So that doesn't mean the program's broken. That means you need to adjust parameters. Okay, so here's another important thing. Where do we want to put the results? So when it create the flats, right now we have it set up to go to Dropbox on our system, Dropbox, ACPI images, calibration frames, and under Autoflats. So if you go to that folder, you'll find any Autoflat that it produces. This is the naming string that defines the naming with the tokens here to make it pretty flexible. So tells you what filter, tells you what the binning is, something about the time, and that sort of thing. And there's a log folder for errors. Probably the next important thing is right here. And just to note, the semicolon makes the line inoperable, and so that it is simply information. It's a comment. So anything that's commented, has a semicolon is just commented. And so right here, this is a function that you need to set, and it's just a list of numbers. And what this is, when it runs the blue filter, it will turn on the light screen, the light panel, at a value of 6. When it runs the V filter, it will turn on at a value of 3, which would be almost half of the 6, and so on. And we find out right here with luminance, which is, it lets in a lot of light. It's the most sensitive of the filters. You have to turn the thing all the way down. So then these are scientific filters over here, B through I. Imaging filters, luminance, red, green, and blue. And then these are narrowband filters for various purposes. If we were going to be able to do binning, we would do the same thing down here. These sequence of numbers tell the light panel what light level to put out, and then the software will adjust the exposure length until it will give about 30,000. It actually stores the value in a file at some point, so that the next time you run it, it starts with that. It says, well, if 30 seconds worked last time, then 30 seconds would be a good place to start at this point. And then on every exposure, it will adjust it slightly to get closer and closer to 30,000. So the system will zero in on 30,000 progressively. And I think that's all that we need to do here. This is the, for those that might get into it, this is the command protocol to turn on and off the light panel. And I think that's pretty much it for this. Okay, so let's go to the one that gets down to tell you what is actually going to happen. So let's see, it's at, we need to go to the documents on this PC user, go to ACP Astronomy, go to plans. Seems like an unusual place to put it. And okay, so in a moment, I'm going to show you how this will come up when we run it. And we'll be able to choose this file. And so let's pull that up and edit. And the way this works is down here, we put a list of filters. And right now I've got most of them commented out, except sulfur, I guess that's sulfur, isn't it? There's silicon and then oxygen. I forgot which one that is. And we're going to run, when we run it, what it will do, the first number is the number of exposures. Okay, then it's which filter, luminance, red, the R filter, V, green, blue, whatever. So it's the filter that's being run is the second parameter. The third parameter is the binning, which in our case will always be 1, and the angle that you would like the rotator to be. Now, so we've got 0. So there is a gotcha here. We have an German equatorial. It can flip to east and west. And so what this does is it actually makes 30 frames. If we've got 60, it'll make 30 frames at 0. It'll rotate the camera 180 degrees, and it'll make another 30 flats. So that hopefully that's all explained in detail up here with the examples. And here's one. So if we had put in 50 B145, we'd get 50 exposures, 25 on the east, 25 labeled west, the B filter, one by one binning, and a plate angle of 45, and then it would stop and rotate and do the second 25 at 225 degrees. Okay, so now let's see how we use that file name. Okay, so what we're going to do here is select the Autoflats program and run it. And you'll just pick a Visual Basic script, Autoflats. And all we have to do is hit run, and now it pulls up this file selection. And if you remember, we talked about two other files besides the Visual Basic. One of them would set up the Visual Basic and tell it what its parameters are. And the other one is a text file that tells the whole system what filters it needs flats for, how many, what the rotator should be, the binning and all, and those kinds of things. And that's specified in this folder, this text file right here. So we just select it, hit open, and we're off and running. And let's pull up the, what am I doing? Hit there's Maxim right there. So I think there's like a 2-minute wait period. I put a 2-minute wait period before the light panel starts up.
Well, that's a good time to note that if we've gone through this mechanically because we're running it through ACP. If the Autoflats ran through scheduler, it would turn everything on and run this automatically, right?
We think that's the way it'll work. Eventually it should work that way.
So I'm gonna pause.
Yeah, while you're paused, I'm gonna zip up. Yeah, so one of the first things that happens, folks, is it may decide to move the rotator. And that takes a little bit. So now we're coming up saying it's going to start an exposure, and exposure complete, image download. Okay, so the first thing it does is a little small test image, and it checks to be sure it's in the ballpark. And now we'll get over here. We can see it. We're going with the SII. There we go. 18.4 seconds. Now this one's 19 seconds. And what it does is it measures the darkness or measures the exposure and then makes an adjustment every time. You were going to comment, Bruce, or somebody? So there's image 3. Yeah, we're running a little bit more than I expected there. I may have to adjust that some more down the road. Okay, so it's kicked off. It's going to take 30 on one 30 images, flats, and we're on sky position angle 180, and after doing 30, it will turn around and rotate the camera 180 degrees and take 30 more. Then it'll switch to the oxygen filter and repeat that process.